Another episode of the Self-Development with Tactics podcast. And as you can see in the background, we are already having the Stoicism subreddit. Let us prepare our minds as if we had come to the very end of life. Let us postpone nothing. Let us balance life's books each day. The one who puts the finishing touches on the life each day is never short of time. Which just makes sense, I'd say. When you're quite always prepared, and it might seem a bit negative, when you're always prepared for being dead quite every minute, then, well, you have had all the time you needed. Which I think really gives one a very certain perspective on life. When you always think about like, okay, today might be my last day, so I'd rather enjoy it. Or I would rather do this, I would rather do that. Of course, this may not necessarily mean that I am only going to do certain things, like the things that I love, and whatever. It might just also be a bit more about how I am interacting with the people that are around me, how I'm dealing with the people, how I'm talking to those people, my friends, thinking about them, maybe just messaging somebody that I've not been in contact with the past X years, and so on and so forth. Many things that actually play into this thought and this, maybe let's just call it lifestyle, this way of living. But there is a bit more to this post. How does a Stoic live their life to the fullest in the face of grief? My dad passed away recently and I find myself being at crossroads. The next few months will be a wild ride for me, tons of new opportunities and meet people, yada yada yada. I think in terms of the first thing, we can't control it. Especially when it is about other people. We just cannot control it. We cannot control their life, and we also cannot control their death. So when they die, we should rather hope for them to die in a good way, meaning them being actually old. At least this is my thought of dying in a good way, being old, at least elderly, having a few years on your back quite, but also just, not having pain, and so on and so forth. I think you know what I mean and what I'm aiming for. But, well, I think being like, okay, well, we cannot control it, so do not complain about it. This scheme, this way of thinking is just not applicable. This is not what people are like. This is not how we live. We have emotions and we are human, and we should live our emotions. So when you're feeling the grief, when you're feeling the unhappiness, when you're feeling the pain, I think one should express it. One should cry. One should not hold everything back. It mostly is about dealing with it and how one deals with it. Of course, some people drink, some people do this, some people do that, and having a healthy way to deal with those quote-unquote negative emotions is, I think, what people should be thinking about, what people should be keeping in mind, and what the whole conversation should be about. It's not about should I express grief or shouldn't I. It's about how we do it, or whatever emotion it might actually be about. One of the core principles of Stoicism is that we acknowledge we can't control external events, but that we can control ourselves and how we feel/perceive events. But is it true? Do we really have control over our emotions? Related follow-up question. What is the best way to deal with a person whose mere presence puts me in fight or flight mode and that it must tolerate every day for the next month? Well, there is something Viktor Frankl said. Psychologist or psychotherapist or psychiatrist. I'm actually not quite sure what he is. I'm actually never quite sure what people are, at least in this field. But he said that when there is an event and when there is, let's say, a trigger, there is always a bit of time where we decide what we do and how we react. And we can decide, we indeed do decide what our reaction is like. And this is, I think, also a core thing, not only in Stoicism but in general, to realize that we have control over our reaction. I would not necessarily say emotions. We do not control our emotions, but our reaction. Just because I am feeling angry and I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling whatever, does not mean that I have to express it in this, that, or the other way, or I have to express it at all. I can choose what I should do. Of course, being aware of what one way of dealing with certain things might lead to, also my happiness and how I'm feeling and whatnot, how this is affecting my whole being, is crucial and central to think about. But yeah, in the end, it is a challenge, and I have not been in the situation, I would say, of always having somebody around that I absolutely hate to the bones. I don't know the backstory. There might be something horrible that has happened, and so on and so forth. But in the end, I would say that this person can't change it. So you either deal with it in a good way or you deal with it in a bad way, and it's up to us. Yet again, it is about actions, and it is about us controlling our actions and our reactions. On Benefits by Seneca really feels like medicine to me. The paragraph ending, "Do not claim for yourself what did not come into being in consequence of the benefits which you bestowed, even though it could not have come into being without them," really strikes at the core of a conflict I have been battling with. Accepting my father as he is, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one. He takes a lot of pride in having fathered children, so much pride he demands worship for it, even though he is uninterested in his children. Met him for the first time at 20. My society demands a father be worshipped even if who he is goes against your core values. He is God who mustn't apologize. Challenge this and your own family will think you're insane. I don't know. I mean, thinking about the situation, this person might not have that much time spent with the other person, with the father. So I don't know. I don't see any. I feel and I understand the problem that he didn't do shit, and he kind of demands the pride and demands like the attention and the like. Okay, you've done a good job and you are a father, and having this badge. But I mean, when one is doing that, I think everyone is quite aware also the person itself, himself in this case, that he actually didn't do shit. When this person is still wearing it as a badge, I mean, there's nothing, there's actually quite nothing to have as a badge instead of it. So it was the simplest way to have some sort of, let's call it prestige, let's call it like maybe even confidence or something to show off and something to have. It's actually quite a not a terrible story, but a sad story. And I think this leads to another thought of, yes, it is a good quote, like, Seneca's, but also, I don't know, showing off is unnecessary most often. Depends on how one is doing it and in which way, and the whole context, as quite always. But yeah, with that being said, I'm gonna see you next time. Bye bye.